podcast.
All right, now recording. What's up, Fight Bros podcast listeners? Coming at you today with Fight Bros MMA Show number 57. We got a good one for you today. We're continuing our series with Titans of the Cage ahead of their event on Saturday, October 21st at 4 p.m. at the Wytheville Meeting Center. This will be Titans of the Cage number 34. I've got a great guest for you today. She is main eventing Titans of the Cage 34. This will be the first time at Titans of the Cage that there has been a female main event. So I'm very happy to have her on the podcast today. So after further ado, we got Wendy Bonesaw Anundson. Thank you for coming on today, Wendy.
Thank you for having me.
And just so our guests know, can you pronounce that last name for us?
Anundson.
The D is silent.
Yeah.
So, Wendy, thank you so much for coming on. I just wanted to start out. This is kind of how I started out with everybody. Will you tell our guests where you're from and what gym you're fighting out of?
So I'm originally from Reno, Nevada. My husband and I, about 2 years ago, packed up all our things and moved out here. We did have a gym in Reno, opened up a new gym here in High Point, North Carolina, and so far everything's going great.
So you mentioned that you all, you and your husband opened up a gym. Can you tell me a little bit about the origins of that and how that was getting it started?
Well, at first it was pretty hard because we didn't really know anybody in North Carolina, but we did bring about, I want to say about, 15 people out here with us. So we had some fighters follow Kelly out here because he's an amazing coach. I know I'm biased, but because I'm his wife, but he is an amazing coach. So a bunch of fighters and some that just really love jiu-jitsu too. And they all moved out here. We were able to grow our gym pretty fast just because we had some people in here that were a little bit more experienced.
That's neat. So I want to get to your origin story too of how you got into MMA. So tell us how you got started in MMA, how that came upon you getting into this fascinating sport.
Well, I actually had some bad experiences where I felt like I needed to protect myself, be able to protect myself. And so I decided that I wanted to start doing MMA. And then I ended up just loving it. So
hey, I love it. That's a great reason. So your nickname, Bonesaw, that's interesting. I like that. Can you tell us how you got that nickname?
Well, when I very first started, I actually did a little bit of powerlifting and bodybuilding before MMA. And so I was pretty strong. And basically, I was hurting all of my training partners by accident, not really meaning to. I didn't even realize that I was hurting all of my training partners until Kelly gave me the name Bonesaw. And I was like, why are you calling me Bonesaw? And he's like, because you hurt all your training partners. And I'm like, oh. So initially I didn't really like the name because I felt really bad. And then it grew on me,
Hey, I like it. I can tell that you have a lot of support leading up into this event. Every time Titans of the Cage posts a promotional thing on Facebook, it's like flooded in the comments with like chainsaw emojis for you. So yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So tell me a little bit about what your goals are in MMA.
Well, goals definitely UFC, or one championship. Honestly, I'd be happy in any big promotion. ultimately though, like the goal is just to grow as a person. And I feel like mixed martial arts has really done that for me, so far. I've grown a lot and learned a lot about myself, and it's really changed my life for the better.
I like that. Another question I like to ask guests that kind of goes along with this is, so, a lot of our guests are competing in the amateur MMA. So, they're having to, balance, jobs and stuff with trying to pursue a full-time MMA career. Can you tell us what that life is like for you? And I think based on an earlier question, are you coaching as well with your gym?
Yes, I am coaching. But when I very first started, I had just graduated with my electrical engineering degree, and I had some money saved up. I was like, I want to do this MMA thing. And so I took like 6 months where all I did was train. And so I trained every single class that I possibly could. So he always had, I don't know, 4 hours in the morning, 4 or 5 hours at night. So I was training about probably an average of, I don't know, 8 hours a day, and every day during the week. Um, Besides weekends. Sometimes we'd still come in and get extra work on the weekend. But I did that for about 6 months. And then I started running out of money a little bit. Went and got a job. I was working an electrical engineering job at the University of Nevada, Reno.
Oh, okay.
And all this was happening right when COVID happened. And so since COVID happened, then they said that I only really had to come in for appointments, and so I scheduled my appointments around my training, and I was still able to train full time. When it was time to come out here, I quit my job. We moved out here, and then I just took over the gym with Kelly, and we run all the classes together. So,
Hey, I like that. Um, I I want to talk a little bit about this. So, doing some research on you, it seems like you've been fighting every weekend lately. Um, you've been very active. I know you just had a fight last weekend. Tell us a little bit about why you've been so active, and if this is beneficial. You feel like to keep being so active.
oh, absolutely, it is super beneficial to keep being active. So, um, the reason that I'm being so active is because that's how I'm gonna make it. I if you when you take a break, you lose everything that you just worked up to, right? And I feel like because I'm consistently fighting, I just keep getting better and better every time, and I'm lucky enough to not have any injuries in basically all of my fights. I think I had one fight um, where I had to take like 7 weeks off, and that was like earlier in my career. But I feel like it's super important to stay consistent and keep fighting so that you don't have to shake off the rust ever. Um, I had my fight. Goodness gracious, it's so hard for me to remember which fights when I had them. My fight for Fury, that one I was a little bit rusty, I felt like. And then because I hadn't fought MMA since last November. And so I think it had been like 9 months or something like that since I'd had an MMA fight, though I did have a kickboxing fight earlier in the year. Um, so I had that fight, shook off the rust a little bit, ran right into another fight, and I felt way more confident and comfortable. Right into another fight, even more confident and comfortable. And I'm feeling really excited about this one this weekend. I think I'm really going to put on a good show.
Hey, I love it. I love how active you are. So let's talk about the fight that you just had last weekend. You just won the 125-pound title at Conflict MMA. Walk us through, that fight and how you felt about winning that title.
Oh man. Hmm. This was probably one of the most meaningful days for me, and not just because I won the title, but because everybody on our team really showed out. You know, we had 5 people on the card, I think, and we all did amazing. And so I was super excited about that. And I also had my dad come visit. So he came on Wednesday, and he was able to be in my corner for that fight.
Oh,
And
good.
so it was really meaningful for me that he was in the corner and there for me. And I just it was great. It was just a great day. It was a great day. I was like filled with love all day long and afterward, and very enjoyable.
Good, good. Thank you for sharing that. Um, doing some research on you too, I seen that you have 10 or 11 wins right now, correct?
Yes, 10 wins.
10 wins, and all 10 of your wins are by finish. 9 out of 10 of your wins by round one. It seems like you like to get these done early. What would you like to say about that?
I mean, yeah, I think everybody probably would want to have an early finish, right? It's definitely hard when you have to go into the later rounds, um, because you get tired, right? But I feel confident that that's something that I can do if I need to do that. My fight last November, that one went all 5 rounds, and we ended up getting fight of the night. It was a great fight. So I'm confident that I can go all 5 rounds if I need to go all 5 rounds. But if I can finish them, I'm gonna finish them.
Hey, I like that. Now, I want to talk to you about this. So, your opponent that you will be facing this coming Saturday at Titans of the Cage 34, her original opponent dropped out about maybe 3 weeks before this event. Tell us how it came for you getting this fight and taking it on that, sort of late notice there.
I mean, I've done this plenty of times where people have dropped out and they're asking to see if they can find a replacement, and then I just jump in. I think I did that actually my second fight that I ever had. That one I took on a week's notice too. So, I mean, I'm always ready. I stay ready. Bonesaw is always ready. So I'll take any fight that comes at me. Like you can't be picky either, because if you're picky, then you're not going to get the experience that you need.
Yeah, I like that. So I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I didn't know if you knew this either, but this is going to be the first time that Titans of the Cage has had a female main event. Does that, make you feel good about this fight too? That you're kind of breaking history for this promotion here.
Oh, that's really cool, actually. I didn't even realize that. So that's awesome. Yeah, feels good.
Good. Um, now, I like to ask people this. You don't have to answer this. You can answer it any way you do. So you're going to be facing Hannah Ross for the title at Titans of the Cage 34. You have any predictions for how this fight, how you want it to go, how it's going to go?
I feel like no one really knows how the fight's going to go until you're in there, right? But I'm confident that when I go and into that cage, I will know exactly what I need to do. So, and I work on my striking, I work on my grappling and wrestling. I'm confident everywhere.
I like that answer. On the way home from work today, I was listening to an interview with Hamzat ahead of his co-main event with Usman for this coming weekend, and he said the same thing. He said they asked him for a prediction, and if you know Hamzat, he was like, "Brother, when that cage closes, that's where the prediction comes." So I liked your answer, very similar to his.
Sweet.
So I wanted to ask you a couple of fun questions here near the end of the podcast. You mentioned earlier that UFC is the goal. Are you a fan? You being a fighter, some fighters don't like to watch it too. Are you a fan of the sport as well and like to watch these pay-per-views and events all the time? Or
I mean, I do watch, but I mean, my favorite fighters are actually the fighters that I'm around all the time, you know. So obviously my favorite fighter is my husband. And then aside from that, we have Cameron Sandoval. Um, I saw Marcus actually fight for the first time this weekend, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I think he might be one of my favorite fighters now, for sure. And so Julian, he's one of our new guys starting out. I mean, I feel like because I have more of a connection to them, um, and it's meaningful. I enjoy that even more. But I do watch UFC, so.
hey, I like that. That's the first time somebody's answered that question like that, and I love that support for your teammates. Now, you mentioned your husband competes as well. Tell us a little bit about where he's at in his MMA career.
Well, he actually just had his retirement fight. I think it was like 5 or 6 months ago,
Okay.
and it was awesome because that was the first time that I actually got to see him fight in person. And like I said, like I'm all about the meaningful things, so it felt really good, like running up into the cage after he won his fight, and he won his fight first round too. So.
Oh, what a moment. So this is one I like to ask. So let's say, there's somebody watching you for the first time on October 21st, this coming Saturday. They're watching you for the first time. They don't know anything about you. What do you want to leave them with of you after the fight? How do you want them to think of you? Maybe, we could refer to this as a little kid that's never watched you fight before. What impression do you want to come off on them after your fight?
That if you work hard and you're disciplined, you can do anything you set your mind to.
I like that. Very well said. So the last little bit, I just want to give you the floor. Shout out your teammates, your coaches, sponsors, anybody you'd like to shout out. The floor is yours.
Well, I'd like to thank my coach, Kelly Anundson, for putting all of his time and effort into me. I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for him. I'd like to thank Cameron Sandoval, Alexa Connors. I'd like to thank Long Life Meal Prep. They're an awesome meal service, and I've been eating their meal preps probably for about, I don't know, almost a year now. And that's how I keep my weight down all the time, and I'm always staying fight ready, and they taste really good. I'd like to thank Painted Post Salon. They're always cutting my hair and making me look super fast. Put like lines in my hair and stuff.
I like it.
I'd like to thank In Your Corner. In Your Corner has been a great asset for me. I have kind of struggled with mental health a little bit and like competition anxiety, and that's exactly what they're for. And so I've spent like, I don't know, I think the last 4 months in therapy, but it's like fight therapy, And so I'd like to thank them because they've helped me be more confident going into the cage and feel more comfortable in there and deal with all of my past traumas and stuff like that. I would like to thank Fist Rage and Aries for their continued support.
Hey, very well said. So you heard it here first, listeners. Titans of the Cage 34, Saturday, October 21st at 4 p.m. at the Wytheville Meeting Center. Come watch this stellar main event we got with Wendy Bonesaw. Wendy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I appreciate you taking time, as you're preparing for this fight and coming to do this.
Thank you.
All right, I'll end this out and then finish with you here. Thanks for listening to the Fight Bros podcast. If you like what you heard today, like us on Facebook and like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks for all your support.